How's it going, folks? Nick here with the Otto Permaculture vlog. I'm gonna quickly let the chickens out and then we're gonna get this vlog started just in a minute. Let's go, guys. Let's go. How's it going? Go ahead. It's okay. All right, folks, we are back with the vlog, finally starting up again. It's been a really rough year for me, which is why I haven't really been posting and making videos this year, but I actually just made a video to explain that for you. If you want to check it out, you can check out the link video above. Otherwise, we're just gonna get started. I'm gonna give you a full tour of the homestead, show you what's changed, show you what's the same, show you things that you may or may not have seen before. I don't know, it's been a while since I did this. So we'll see what you guys recognize and what you don't, and let's go ahead and get started. Chickens are in getting their dust bath. That's what they do down here. And that's why I let them out down here so they can have a nice little spot and keep themselves healthy with the dust. Very important for their health to have access to some sort of dust bath. Here in the tropics, it's good to have that dust bath under some sort of cover all the time so that you know, it stays dry, because otherwise it's not going to be a dust bath if it's not actually dusty. So that's why that's there. So we're starting at the bottom of the property. This is a garden bed I installed quite a while back, and you can see now it is kind of overgrown. And actually, let's go ahead and zoom out here a little bit so you can kind of see the full thing here. You can see about a bunch of papayas kind of full up, big papaya tree here, another one over here. These guys have actually cut and they kind of keep growing back, and they still are producing, which is kind of cool. I also have down in here plantain. We've actually gotten two crops of plantain already, one from this tree, another one from this one here, and this one actually has right now winged bean growing up it. Let's see if I can't get the little bit of a better shot there for you on that wing bean. So these are these wing beans. This is a perennial bean that I planted right as I started this garden bed down here. And I haven't, to be honest, guys, I lost it. I didn't know where that vine went. I just knew that I planted it around there. And so I figured if I just kind of minimize how much I cut towards the base over there where I first put that vine, hopefully it'll make it to the end. It ended up did. So now I have these, it's perennial, so it just keeps growing back. And look at this. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They just kind of keep growing up. It's actually growing up onto this, this plantain tree, which I actually, is probably not the best because I'm gonna have to cut that down at some point, but hopefully at that point that vine, I mean it's a perennial vine, but hopefully that little crop will have been done. I can harvest it all, bring it in, and then the plantains can have a little bit more sunlight, which they need to really be happy there. I also, kind of this area down here, you can see there's a couple new plantains coming up here. These are actually ones that I kind of spread out a little bit from the first cluster. So these two right here, and actually there's another one that's further up. It's kind of hard to see with there's also some sugar cane right there. But they actually came from this mound down here. So I actually cut out, after I got the first crop from that one, I cut out a couple of little babies from that one, and I just moved them around here so I can have a little bit more plantain production once they kind of get a little bit bigger. So this whole area is still going. We also got some jautia here, which is a root crop. I think it's called cocoa yam in many places. But yeah, it's a root crop, and it is, let's see if we can, it's not quite ready for kind of harvest yet. You'll start to see a little bit more of the stem there, a little bit more above ground when it's going to be ready, but this thing's going to be really close soon. It's kind of taken off. And then right in front of that, if you hadn't seen it yet, we got this this jackfruit, which is really exciting. Nice to have some jackfruit on the site. It's going to take a while before that's actually going to be harvestable, but hey, that's all right. Behind there, you got some ginger. You can kind of see it poking through. I don't know if it's actually going to make it. I need to come down here and actually clean this bit up a little bit. But this whole bed has been pretty much of a success. It's always supposed to have been a long-term bed. You can also see here we got a cacao tree. This is from one of the local farms right nearby here, Cacao Pruvite, here in Luquillo. And I got that when we went on their tour. She gave us a couple of the seeds and we started them, and here it is. So this is actually a cacao tree grown from a local seed that is, you know, right around the corner from me here. It's pretty cool. So I got that there. Of course, we got more of this Filipino coconut. I have that pretty much everywhere because right up here, I got a big coconut harvest. I gotta do really soon, honestly. It's actually too far. They're getting a little bit too ripe up there, but this guy produces so many coconuts, and I always leave a good amount when I harvest coconuts to get these babies. And then these babies I move around either the site or I gift to people. Really kind of whatever makes sense at that moment. All right, so we're gonna keep moving on up. I'm gonna try to make this not super long, but you know guys, it's been a long time. I'm just gonna kind of do my flow. I'm really getting back into it right now. I'm probably a little bit rusty. You guys are probably noticing that as I'm doing this. I'm also working with a new gimbal, which is what's keeping it nice, smooth panning for you guys as I move around like this, so it's not kind of all crazy. Has these like crazy features where I can just start moving and it's gonna track me without me moving my arm. It's kind of crazy actually. Nice to have that little bit of extra technology though. It helps me a lot to make these videos better for you. Right here is where I just let the chickens out of, and this is actually part of this is actually part of my soil building area. So this is the chicken pen, and you can see right at the bottom here, look at that beautiful soil. You see this? This is just made from the chickens' action. They're just basically kicking everything down in their pen. I have it set up where I have this little bit of a moat right here, and I just keep adding organic material at the top of the pen. I'll show you that in a little bit. And I add all of our food scraps and pretty much any excess organic material we have here on site. It gets all thrown up there, and then it slowly works its way down, and eventually turns into this. Now this isn't like compost per se, because compost is more of a you know, active management, and you're making sure everything is has the right balance, and you're tracking temperatures and all that. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm basically creating topsoil. But you know what? These chickens love the topsoil creation because all those little bugs go in there. And so their natural action, you can actually see them doing right now. They're scratching down there. Their natural action of scratching ends up turning all that material from uphill to downhill. And then I get, basically, they're doing all that kind of topsoil mixing for me with all that organic material. And you can see down here, I just throw all my excess organic material just down on the ground, and they come through and they pick through that, and they help me down here too. But this area, I'm really just kind of keeping like that as a as a way to protect the soil, because it's been kind of rainy for a while. So that's really why that's all down here. But most of the organic material ends up going at the top of this chicken pen, and then they're doing all my work for me. As they kick down all these materials slowly, creating this beautiful topsoil that is high in soil biota. The compost kind of breaks down really quickly because it's already broken down quite a bit by the microbes who are doing all the composting. And here in the tropics, we have such fast decomposition cycles that even if I just put a big old pile of organic material down, in a few weeks it's pretty much going to be down to soil again. So instead of making compost all the time, I kind of backed off a little bit, and I'm letting the chickens do the majority of the work for me just by providing them with all the materials that they need, all the organic materials and food that they need to survive and to live and be happy. And they basically just take care of all that for me. Pretty cool system. I'll show you the top in just a little bit, but first I want to show you guys Otto. If you've been watching my vlog for a while, you know that Otto is my co-star. Oh, you good boy. Hey, bud. How's it going? He heard me out here. He was napping a little bit earlier, but he heard me out here and he wanted to get into it. Speaking of, he's basically introducing us to the pond right here. So let's move on to there next. So yeah, right down here we got this pond. This is something I installed, I think, almost 2 years ago now, which is honestly kind of amazing to me. And just kind of keeps on going. I kind of come through and I clear out the excess organic growth because stuff grows really fast here. You can see the algae growing, which is kind of an indication there might be a little bit too much nutrient in here. But that's okay because we still got fish, we still got frogs, and it's still a nice little place for the insects to come and get their water when they need it in the middle of the day. Nice just to have that here. And it is really kind of my favorite feature, or one of my favorite features of this homestead. So, all right, we're gonna move right along now. Here's one of my main crop beds here. Right now I got, it's basically just arugula and hopefully getting some cilantro to actually start growing. You can see down here, it's finally starting to grow here. The other thing you'll see now is I actually have irrigation lines. That's something I'm really excited to share more about with you, and we'll do that in just a little bit. But for now, let's just kind of keep checking this one out. Got a whole row of turmeric back here. Turmeric grows like crazy here, this root crop, and it pretty much will grow. It's pretty much a weed in my backyard at this point. But I added it right here just below the chicken pen because you know, everything else I put there tends to get too much stuff coming down on top of it, which ends up kind of hurting the crop. But here, if I get more excess stuff coming down through the fence for the chickens here, what's going to end up happening is it's just going to keep burying the roots, and so they'll keep growing more and more roots because it's going to keep being dark. It's kind of like, instead of mounding, I'm just letting the chickens do that work for me. So that's what's there, and also a bunch of little flowers that I just got started, some zinnias, some dahlias, just to get some nice flowery goodness in here. And then right up here we got avocado tree. This is one that was planted by us, by me and or the chickens, depending. We might have just thrown a avocado seed out here and it started growing. But it's actually gotten so big that I've actually done a big prune on it to kind of reduce its size. I actually didn't even mention, I'm sure you guys saw it in the video though, we got our Jamaican red bananas starting to come through. Pretty cool to see those. I'm really excited. They're delicious bananas, but they take a long time to produce. So anyway, back to this avocado here. We got this avocado. It's growing lovely. Next bed up, just a kind of little bit of a walkway here, and then right in here I got ginger. Now I've kind of made this my ginger bed because it kind of gets a little bit too shady at some points, but the ginger doesn't seem to mind too much, and it's also kind of an inconvenience to get in here to this specific bed. Kind of it's tucked away, so something I don't need to manage too often and too frequently I put there. And in this case it's ginger, and you can see it's actually flowering right now, which is pretty cool. I love when I see those ginger flowers coming up. It's an indication that it's probably ready for harvest a little bit. I could probably harvest some at this point, but right now I don't need to, so I'm just gonna let it keep getting bigger and bigger. I actually mounded on top of this. I took some of that soil down from the bottom of the chicken pen over there. I pull it out there and I screen it with a screen right there, just to give myself a little bit of a cleaner mix, get some of that bigger stuff out. And then I just dumped it all right on top of the existing ginger there, just to kind of mound it up a little bit to keep those rhizomes underground, so it'll actually keep producing more and more ginger for me. All right, this is a bed I've kind of been constantly tweaking. It was actually one of the first beds I installed. It started being kind of tomatoes to cucumbers here. Right now what I've got in here is basically a greens mix. Because I just need a lot of greens. That's kind of what I'm trying to focus on. So I got just kind of like a brassica greens mix here. I got some Asian greens right in the front starting to come in. And then on the side here, I got some basil starting around this rock. So I actually exposed this rock a little bit, and that's going to be a little bit hotter. So I put some of the Mediterranean herbs around there, like this basil here. And this is also calendula, which is a medicinal herb / flower, which is really nice to have, and it's kind of hard to grow here in Puerto Rico. So I have these guys just kind of sitting in here. Hopefully we'll see if they do all right there. I'm still kind of a guess. I haven't gotten them to do too well here since moving back from Washington State, where there I had them all the time. And then right here I actually just planted an acerola tree, which is kind of like a cherry, but it has way more vitamin C, and it definitely doesn't taste like a cherry, but it looks like a cherry. So that's a acerola bush right there. This one right here, I'm actually not sure exactly what it is because it just started growing, so I'm just letting it go there. You can see actually right here is a papaya, basically the chunk of a papaya. I cut that down because it had been there for a good 2.5, 3 years, and it was time. It was time to retire it. And then I got this little Mexican mint, which is the first time I'm trying this. It kind of has like an anise and minty flavor, and who knows if it's actually going to be good or be a good crop here, but I figured I'd try it. Just kind of towards the top there, away from the main crop area, which is kind of further here, so it's right along the edge, so I can quickly jump in and harvest it if I need to. That's that so far. We just did the bottom half. We're moving to the top half. Moving pretty quick, I think, right? Moving up here, we have the entrance to the chickens right in there. I'm going to show you that in a little bit, to talk a little bit more about the kind of chicken soil creation process. But for right now, we'll take a look at this bed. Another bed just full of greens mostly. Right now it's arugula and some Asian greens. And then again, I'm trying to get keep trying to get cilantro to grow. It's been really hard for me here, but I got a couple growing in here, but I don't have much hope for this. This is like kind of an abandoned bed for a little while because it got a little bit too wet. And this bed also got way too wet, so I just threw it into a cover crop. This is buckwheat. Buckwheat is now growing and flowering, which is pretty cool. So I may harvest seeds, or I may just cut this too and give it to the chickens as a feed, or I may just cut it and drop it right in place and then plant right on top of it, because this bed right here is actually pretty much waterlogged, I've learned at this point of the year, because the neighbor above me, they actually put so many trees on their site, and I put so many trees on this site, that we actually have, when it's really, really wet, a spring that is occurring, basically right over there. All this right here is just completely soggy. I can barely walk in here without making it a muddy mess. and I actually threw a bunch of seashells down here because one of the things about drainage with clay material is usually it's based on the calcium magnesium ratio. It kind of determines whether the clay is going to be flocculated or not, which essentially relates to how well it drains. So I've actually added some seashells because they're pretty high in calcium, and I'm just going to hope that the soil life down there kind of slowly degrades that and adds it to the soil just to help a little bit. I'm not really expecting it to be a major change at this point because there's a spring there, and I'm going to have to just learn to adapt to that spring. That's just part of permaculture design. You keep on adapting to your situation. The fact that we have a spring is a huge benefit. So, but at the same time, I now have to adapt my systems to make sure I can still use the beds that I have for the purpose that I want to be using them. That might mean I have to adapt this little bit of a grassy patch that I had into more of like a walkway, or I might even put like a small pond, tiny pond, kind of like the one just at the bottom of the site down there. Pond right down there, right? I may actually put one right up here where it's really, really wet and just kind of, it's been soggy pretty much for a month and a half over there with kind of standing water. So it doesn't seem to bother Otto too much. He doesn't mind going through here at all. As you can see there, he's gonna have nice muddy paws for me to clean up when we get back inside. All right, so this bed up here, this is another one of the first beds I had on this site. I've been kind of continuously adapting, improving, and kind of doing new stuff. What I did here is actually took down one of the bananas further down on the property. I just had too many growing at once, and I used those to kind of build up and hold the front. And then I laid 4 banana chunks cut into quarters. And let me zoom out here for you so you can see a little bit more of this. I basically quartered a plantain. This is actually a red banana trunk. And I laid them down, one here, one here, one here, and one in the back. And I just filled these inner spaces here with that fresh compost / topsoil from the chicken system. And then I planted my transplants right into it. So back here we got some dahlias. Again, just trying to get some more flowers in here. And you can also, in between those, you can actually see just a little bit, the little baby onions. It's actually the first time I'm ever doing onions. I don't know why, because onions are supposed to be pretty easy. And then right here I have an Asian green that kind of produces an edible flower, which is pretty cool. And then right below me, on this whole row here, I have green onions. And I'm really excited because we love onions. We use onions pretty much every day. So I'm really trying to find a way to kind of help improve our onion production. And green onions are a great way because they're pretty quick, and I can kind of keep sowing them and keep getting a crop over and over and over again. But yeah, you know, we'll see how it goes and see if it actually lasts or not, and if I can actually get a crop like I want. So yeah, now next I'm going to show you something that's brand new to the property, rainwater storage. Here we go, guys. Finally. I've been wanting to get rainwater storage on this property for quite some time, and really a rainwater catchment system. It's my first on this property here that is actually supplying water for my entire crop and chicken systems, which is pretty cool so far. So I'm just going to kind of walk you basically through the system without going too much into it. I'll do another video where I kind of dive into depth about this project. If that's something you'd like to see, please give me a comment below so I know that, so I can make sure that I focus on it more. I really do kind of listen to you guys for what you guys want. But essentially, this is taking rainwater from one down spout, and it's really just a pipe that goes through the cement wall. You can see another one of them right here. And usually what it used to do is, it used to be a long pipe like that. And what I did is I just cut that pipe close to the wall and add a 90-degree fitting to it. And I brought it on down. And then what you see right there at the bottom of that initial pipe, that's a leaf guard. So that just helps keep organic matter out of the water. So water first goes through that little bit of a leaf filter there, leaf guard, and that little top piece there that you see with that little tab, you can actually pull that whole thing off and clean it. So that's a nice, easy way to maintain it. And then basically I have it going into a 2-inch pipe right through here, and that goes across. It has a slight grade to it there, but really not too much of a grade. I want it to be really, really shallow, easy water flow, but still a flow, right? That's what I wanted. So it comes down into here and fills the tank. Now at the top here, I have a fitting that is loose, so air can still get through here. So this is still able to vent. That's very important. And then once the water fills the tank and it fills all the way to the top and it can't fill any bit more, the water backfills up and then goes off the side here into a 3-inch pipe, kind of increase that diameter just to give it a little bit more flow, reduce any sort of potential for blockage. And then it comes over here, has another vent pipe at the top there, and then it comes on down and into the drainage gutter. Oh, there's Giddy. And this is exactly where it would have gone if it had just gone straight from the roof down into the drain. So I didn't change anything about the water flow here. All I'm doing is collecting it, using it throughout the site, and then when it's at its maximum, it goes right back into the same exact channels that it would have been going into. In addition to this tank here, which basically water comes in, over, down, up, and then back out and through into the drainage here. I also have the main plumbing here rigged up, so I have a full easy water if I need water. Look at that. That's all just from, that's barely any head pressure at all. That's just the head pressure of the height of the water here, right? And this stores up to 275 gallons or 1,000 liters, more or less. So I have that, which is a really, really easy spigot to use. I have this, which is the drainage, just in case I do need to empty this pipe for whatever reason, or empty this tank. I have a pipe right here, fits right on in, and from there, I'm able to open up that gauge and it drains right in again to the same drainage. And that I just keep here for ease of use whenever I need it. And on this side, I have a 3/4 inch pipe that you can see here, and it runs all the way through the garden, all the way down this row, straight down. You can actually see it at the back there. You can see it over there. And I have it going all the way down and coming out right here. So now I have a water supply right next to the chickens that I can use to fill up their water from rainwater. And I also have this is actually part 2 of my irrigation system. This is the automatic control here. And I have another one right up here, right next to the tank, which you saw on the way down. So these 2 irrigation timers, these are kind of battery operated manual ones that are actually made to do very low flow. So it's good for a tank where you don't have much head pressure. It just uses 2 AA batteries, and that basically activates the little flow valve. And you can set the timer to basically water for a certain amount of time over a certain amount of period of time, and it's super easy. So with that, I'm able to have actually 2 zones of control. I have one zone up here, which controls all the irrigation for the beds, basically from here over and this bed here. And it actually also waters up there as long as the tank water is high enough to make it up there with the little bit of head pressure that I have. I don't have much pressure here with gravity fed water. The more height in the water, the more pressure can go through lines, right? So if that's a really low tank, it's not going to reach all the way up there in those upper lines there. That's okay, you know, hopefully I won't need it then. All right, so that's zone 1. Zone 2, that one is controlled from this timer right here, and that goes to all the bottom beds. So I actually have the upper beds and the bottom beds, and the reason why I did that is because usually these bottom, whoa, the cat's going crazy. Usually these bottom beds are a little bit more moist because they're lower down the property. So I want a little bit of a different timer control on them to have a little bit less water going versus the upper beds, where I actually want a little bit more water because they tend to be higher and drier. Now, that's not the case right now for this bed right here where I have the buckwheat growing, because this buckwheat bed is literally completely soaked because that spring is really forming right here. So this entire area is just completely waterlogged at the moment. But the buckwheat seems to be doing just fine as a cover crop. And that's just kind of filling that space until I can kind of take more control over it. And also providing some stuff for the honeybees. You can see they're coming in. All right, one final look. We're just gonna look at the chicken system real quick, just to kind of finish up the vlog here. So this is the top of the system that I was showing you at the very beginning of the vlog, where I basically add organic material, I add deep bedding. I keep this really deep, you know, 3 to 6 inches deep full of bedding, and I keep adding it over and over again, whether that's just organic material I cut from right on site, or if it's imported hay or wood chips or anything like that, just to help add carbon to this system. And I put all my food scraps in here, all of just garden waste and all that goes all into this little system here, right? So as the chickens work through it, they are constantly scratching, and they tend to scratch down slope, down slope, down slope, looking for insects, looking for critters. You can see they have little kind of divots that they dig into the bottom here, and they keep moving it down, 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 and eventually it reaches right down here where this little mama is starting to come in. And that's where I was showing you earlier at the very beginning of the vlog. So that's where all the soil ends up moving down to. Now again, that's not compost, 'cause I'm not like carefully managing it, but it's pretty close to what you could consider compost. It's just not going to have as many active soil biota because I'm not managing it to be really, really active in that way. But it's still full of lots of, you know, nutrient. It's full of soil biota in there, and I basically take all that and I move it back up slope, and I put those into my garden beds. And then basically the chickens are providing all my fertility, and all I have to do is feed them food scraps. And not only does this system keep me happy, provides eggs, provides happiness and food and everything for the chickens, but I also have shade for them that doubles as passion fruit. So I have actually passion fruit trellised above here, and that gives me my favorite, this is my favorite fruit of all time, passion fruit, parcha. And it grows right above my chickens here, and it provides them shade in the middle of the day. And for the areas where I don't have that growing currently, I just have a shade cloth just to give them a little extra protection in the middle of the day there. Otherwise, I live in this chicken coop here. This chicken coop is designed to allow for the manure to fall through their night manure. Every night when they sleep in here, all their manure will actually go through here, and then I can add organic material below that mixes in with the manure, and then I move that over here, and then it just kind of slowly works its way down, works its way down, all the way down to the bottom of the system. So this is basically using gravity to help move all that organic material down the slope while providing soil and basically a soil compost mix for my gardens right up here. Otto's coming to check in one more time because we're about to wrap up, aren't we, bud? Good boy. Good boy. You always know when I'm getting ready. He's trying to tell me it's time to go in, right, bud? And then, you know, I just have my eggs. I just come right to the side here. I can gather my eggs. Only one today, or actually I think I gathered them earlier today, so that's why there's only one. But otherwise, I'm getting between like 3 and 6 eggs a day in this small little system. I have 8 chickens total with 1 rooster, so 7 hens and a rooster. And they're just happy hens living their life and just enjoying what they have here in the backyard. So they have access both to down below where I showed you earlier with the dust bath, and then I also am able to let them out up here. I just open up this gate, and then they come out here and they can check out this whole area with all the greens. They eat the grass, they eat all the insects and critters around the garden beds, they eat the weeds in the paths here. So they actually help me control all these areas that are around the edges of my garden beds. And it actually allows me to keep them much cleaner because they come through and eat what they want to eat right on the edges. And that just kind of helps keep my gardens a little bit more pest free and a little bit less weed pressure, which is really, really great. So it's just really about working with the chickens in the way that they like to be worked to provide something that is good for this homestead. So, all right, so that's going to be it for today. I'm really glad to get back out here and doing this again. It was really great to just kind of walk through this all with you. It's been something I've been wanting to share for a long time, and just didn't have the time or the energy to get there. But here we are, and this is my little backyard tropical homestead. If you think this is fun, this is interesting, please subscribe. Share this with friends who may or may not find some benefit from it. And I just want to leave you with a nice closing shot of the entire homestead here. It's definitely changed from what it started at, which was basically grass. And it's now pretty much a fully functioning ecosystem back here with trees, high shade. I've actually just pruned a bunch. This is a big legume tree that grows really tall, and it looked just like this one a little while ago. I actually just cut back the one over here so I can get a little bit more sunlight in for these winter months when the sun's lower in the sky. But I have all this forest system intermixed with garden beds in my nice little backyard tropical homestead. Cat running through, chickens here too, and of course you got me. Thanks so much for watching, really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for sticking out with me this past year where I haven't been really active much. I'm going to try to get picking right back up. It is about to be the holiday season, so there's likely going to be a little bit of time in between videos, but as soon as I can get back at it, I'll be back out here making more videos for you guys. So please let me know if you like this, what you want to see, especially as I move forward. I'm going to try to listen to you guys and kind of really focus the content to what you guys want to see and what you guys want. So keep in touch, let me know what you think, and as always, thanks for watching.